Okay, so this is the demonstration for how to draw and shade hair. I'm going to show you guys how to block it in, and then I'm going to do some basic shading with my Tortillion and my weighted pencils here, and then I will fast forward through shading the rest of these out in a basic way, and then I'll show you step by step how to add detail to all of these. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is basically do some line work to start to describe some of the basic shapes that the hair is making before committing to any kind of value or detail. So I'm basically just making shapes, and I tell people to kind of think about this almost like statue hair, like hair as if it's carved from stone or sculpted from clay. You're basically doing just the major areas. Alright, so once you get the basic stuff blocked in, you're going to come in and add detail. But the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to shade with my 2B here, and I'm just going to put in some shading where I see the really major dark areas. I'm seeing some dark over here. You notice I'm not really paying, like getting really detailed with it. Yet, that is. So now I'm going to take my stump and I'm going to blend these out to kind of turn them into big blocks and major areas of light and dark. And I did all this with a 2B pencil. And you're going to make sure when you're using your stump, that you go the direction that the hair is going. Don't just and go across it. Alright, so now I'm going to come in with my 4B, and I'm going to use my 4B to really define groupings and strands. And the further apart you make your line work, the more it's going to seem like a highlight area or a lighter area of hair. I'm just looking at the individual kind of direction that the hair is going, making sure to leave areas lighter that are lighter in my reference. Now, unlike with shading flesh or doing this kind of thing, we're actually going to leave the line work behind because that's what's going to make it look like individual strands of hair. Come in and darken these roots that are touching his face. Reinforce some of this deep darkness here I'm seeing right in here. All right, so now I'm going to fast forward through the rest, blocking in the basic values on all these, and then we'll just come back in and get detailed with it. Okay, so as you can see, I've filled in, the light kind of base tones on everything. It's important that you still keep your lines going the direction that the hair goes. And so once you use your blending stump to kind of blend those out and kind of fill them in more, you're then going to come in with your 4B pencil, and then we're going to start coming in and adding texture. So we've got these first two hairstyles. We're going to do kind of a little bit more of like a, I guess what you would call like a figure 8 kind of a mark. It's not like little circles. They're actually little, almost like little numeral 8s, and let's get this a little bit better centered so you can see what I'm doing here. All right. So I'm doing more open figure 8s where the hair is lighter, and then doing more closed figure 8s where it's darker. So there's quite a bit of darkness here along the edge of the hair, and then this would be really, really dark in here where the edge of his cap is. And then that darkness kind of comes into here in little figure 8 patterns. I'm just making more open ones where the hair is lighter, but you're going to have this texture pretty much all over the whole surface. Now, we're going to do similar styles of marks. For these, they're kind of like dreadlocks, So I'm going to focus on the edge of each lock because there's a roundness there that I want to make sure to keep. And so my tightest little figure 8s are going to be towards the edges and where they overlap. But there's still going to be texture in the center of the lock. This is basically the light portions here. If you notice, I haven't really touched my blending stump with these two hairstyles. It's because the texture is all important. Once again, my marks I'm making look like this, enlarged. Alright, so that's how you would do that style. Now for more straight hair, you're going to focus on making lines that kind of go all the way down, and really close attention to wherever you see them kind of overlapping. You're basically going to do partial lines and where there's highlight areas, and then you're going to do heavier, more condensed lines where there are darker areas. So for this kind of wavy hair, I'm going to focus on darkening the individual kind of sections. So like there's a section here, there's a section here. And I'm going to leave it lighter and kind of edge it out in the areas that are lighter. And we've got this kind of darker area that comes in from the outside. And I'm going to do lines that go the direction of this section of the hair. All right, now for this type of hair, basically what you're going to do is you're going to shade it in like the person is bald. But then we're going to come over top with some texture to create not only the hair darkness, but also the hair pattern. Now for this one, I'm going to do very, very small marks because his hair is very, very short. But wherever I see skin showing through, I'm going to make sure to let those gaps show. So areas that are tighter and have more overlapping hair, you can get darker, but just make sure you keep all your strokes kind of go in the direction that the hair is going. Areas that are lighter can have less strokes or lighter strokes. So that's how you would go about doing that style. Now down here, he's got dreadlocks, but they're a little bit looser because they're Caucasian dreadlocks. So we're going to get more obvious overlapping hair going on here rather than smaller, tighter marks. And I'm going to edge out each lock as I kind of selectively darken it And I'm paying close attention to the reference and looking where kind of these individual little patterns are. Just kind of using a broken line to define the edges. And unlike the face, you know, it's okay to have lines showing in the hair because hair is strand. So I'm just kind of letting my pencil relax as I get to the edge to kind of put in texture, but I don't want it to be really, really dark because that'll take away from how three-dimensional is. We want to kind of focus the darks on the one side. And I'm leaving gaps where the lighter hairs kind of interact and kind of overlap the shadow, because you can see there's lighter hairs that overlap. And so I'm leaving gaps to show through where those lighter hairs are. So that's how you would do that. All right, now it's beard time. So basically, ideally what you want to do is you want to shade the face underneath the beard as if the beard is not even there. And then we're going to use textural marks to define the facial hair. First I'm starting with his mustache, and it kind of comes down through the corner of his mouth right here. All this is darker, so it's almost like shading, but you're shading kind of with the direction of the hair. And areas that are darker, you just want to use more overlap and more pressure. If the person that you're drawing has a longer beard, you're going to use longer strokes. If they have a shorter beard, like this fella's beard is kind of short through his cheeks, so I'm going to use a series of overlapping shorter strokes. Still paying really close attention to the darker parts along the jawline here, because the beard generally kind of underlaps and goes under, like follows the bottom of the jaw, so you're seeing more hair kind of overlapping itself, and that creates a darkness. And then, you know, where the beard kind of transitions into the face skin, you're just going to use less marks, and you can actually come in and get rid of the guideline that you put in initially as you're doing this process. And there are people with curlier beards or, you know, various things like that, so you would just change the nature of the mark that you're making. Instead of being kind of straight lines like I've got here, it would be more curled lines. As I start to get up towards the edge here. If you guys notice, you know, I'm not just like making lines that all kind of line up. I'm making lines that go different directions. I'm just going to keep overlapping until I get that darkness that I'm looking for. I'm kind of keeping my strokes from being too straight by changing the direction of the stroke. So like I'll make a stroke this way, then I'll make a stroke that way, and kind of gradually build those up. And you can leave gaps for lighter areas in the beard. All right, I hope this was helpful.